Hi, my name is Ros Roberts. I'm a middle grade writer of fiction and poetry. This is my beautiful dog, Ozzy. He's a Bernese Mountain Dog. We are here with the very privileged position of reading the winning entrance for Year 6 for the Shropshire Bookfest competition. I was sent a fantastic book written by Holly Gurr from Castlefields Primary. It's all about a gorgeous Cocker Spaniel dog right up my street. Off we go. Charlie's Way Home by Holly Gurr. We start 2 years prior. It had been such a scary day. A man I don't know took me from my mother and drove away. I cried the whole journey, scared for my life. Now I'm in the middle of an unknown room with a silk ribbon as pink as a cat's nose around my neck. Just as I'm about to go and explore, a girl bursts through the door, spots me straight away and comes running over to hug me. From that moment on, I knew she was always going to be my best friend. Chapter 1. It is the 3rd of April 2024, a sunny, warm afternoon. The sky looks like a blank canvas, not a cloud in sight, the perfect day for a dog walk. I, however, haven't been on a dog walk all day. In fact, I haven't been on one all week. Hi, I'm Charlie, a 2-year-old lemon roan Cocker Spaniel. People commonly call me a very well-mannered dog, and that I listen well, which I do. I always do as I'm told, especially if it comes from Lottie, my best friend. Right now, I'm in the kitchen, stood whining by the patio door. Mum hates it when I whine, and I hate doing it, but I am desperate for the toilet. Mum's cooking and too busy to let me out, so I get ready to do something I would never normally do. Wee in the house. Just as I'm about to do it, Lottie blunders inside, unable to see where she is walking, as her eyes are glued to what she calls her phone. I don't know what it is, but it's all she does nowadays. I race over to her, almost completely forgetting about needing a wee, and jump up, resting my paws on her thin body hidden by her school uniform. Trousers, a white t-shirt, a black blazer and striped tie. I was so excited to see her, since I haven't for hours. I hate school. I don't know what it is, but it takes Lottie away from me. Plus, she's always moaning about it, so it can't be fun. Lottie tells me to get off, so like the good boy I am, I do. But wanting to play fetch, I quickly return with my favourite toy, a mud-brown bear, now covered in holes. She ignores me as Mum and her have now started a conversation. Mum brings up how I need taking outside. So Lottie groans, then opens the front door, allowing me to run out. From indoors, I can hear Mum is livid at Lottie. So I run in soon after doing my business, just in time to see Lottie jump the last few stairs. So I trot after her. Chapter 2. After getting upstairs, I leap next to Lottie, who is now settling into bed while joining a FaceTime with Ivy, a girl the same age as Lottie, who comes around so often she basically lives here. I curl up by her feet and get comfortable. This is a daily activity now, so I knew we were going to be here a while. It has now been over 2 hours since Lottie and I got into bed, and we're still in the same position when suddenly Mum calls from downstairs, "Dinner time!" making me fly out of bed, leaving Lottie to end the call with a bye, or as she would say, bye. I was ravenous, so when I saw and smelt beef ragout in my bowl, you can probably imagine how ecstatic I was. By the time Lottie had perched on her seat, I had scoffed down mine and was beneath the table begging for hers. It takes Lottie around 15 minutes to eat before we are back in her room, but this time she starts doing what I think is called stinker routine. She's been doing this every morning and night for the last few months. I don't know what it is, but it involves putting different liquids and pastes on her face. She has hundreds of containers for it and keeps getting more. As I lie there, I think how much I long for a walk and start to invent a plan. I carefully plot, and the more I think, the better this plan is sounding. The plan. Have breakfast, obviously. Wait for Lottie to leave for school. Somehow squeeze through Ginger's, the cat's, flap. Play on the fields. Come back home before anyone notices. Eventually, Mum peeks her head into the room while saying in a soft tone, "Bedtime now, night-night," then closes the door, leaving Lottie to clamber into bed, where, like always, she does not sleep and instead stares at her phone for another few hours. On the other hand, I fall straight in a daze, knowing tomorrow is going to be an amazing day. A great day, or so I thought. Chapter 3. The alarm rang. I knew Lottie wasn't going to wake by it. She never does, so it's up to me to get her up. I slinked into a stand, stretching on the way before pouncing on Lottie's face. Without a word, she pushed me off and got up. Like always, she got dressed and did her stinker routine, with me trailing behind before heading downstairs to find pancakes on the table and Mum putting tripe in my bowl. As I ate, I noticed the sun gleam through the cat flap, reminding me of the plan. How did I forget? Suddenly I felt happier. I can't wait for Lottie to leave. I've never felt like this before. I feel so remorseful. How could I think like this? Lottie soon walks through the door and I race to the flat, but come to a sudden halt as Mum laughs. Where are you off to? Watching, eager to know what I'm up to. I stare at her before lying down and pretending to fall asleep. She can't see me leave. I postpone going until she finally goes to the loo. Without wasting a second, I dive through the ginger's way outside, and although it's a squeeze, make it the other side. I can't believe it. I did it. I'm in the garden, which fortunately has a gap in the hedge. It feels so weird being out of the house, alone. I easily make it on the field behind our house, where I was going to stay, but after having a run around, I can see birds in the next field that I so desperately want to chase. And we live in the countryside. There are millions of fields. Why should I just stay in one? And what if Mum sees me? So with that, I go in the next field and the next and the next and the next. And before I know it, I have lost track of time and place. I stop chasing a group of birds that are now miles away. Look at the sky. It's dark. That means Lottie is certainly back. I gaze around, hoping to see home, but I don't. There's a few houses, but they're not mine. Thinking back to all the fields I've ran on, how long I've actually been out, I realise I'm lost. Chapter 4. Rain starts pelting down. My heart skips a beat. I start regretting ever leaving. I want this all to be a dream. I want to wake up and be in bed cuddling Lottie. But I know that won't happen. The rain's getting torrential. It's the sort of rain that feels like buckets of water are being tossed at you. I don't know how I'm going to find home, but right now I need shelter for the night. There's only one place to go, the village down the hill. It looks miles away, so I have no choice but to start the descent. After around 15 minutes, I finally made it. I'm so tired, so I just go under the gate of the very first house I see. I stroll into the garden, and my eyes light up when I spot a wooden shed in the corner of the oddly small field. My walk becomes a trot as I make my way towards it, pushing through the ajar door and curling onto some sort of gargantuan waterproof sheet where I sleep for the night, or try to. Chapter 5. The sun shines through the window, waking me up to a startle as I realise where I am and what happened yesterday. I start to sort of heave the door open and stretch on my way out when I'm noticed by a raccoon cat. She asks me, "What are you doing in my garden?" So I explain with the whole story all in one breath. She moans before disappearing inside and quickly returning with some sort of meat that she plops in front of me while saying, "Eat up. Sounds like there's a big day ahead of you." As I enjoy the food, she told me that I'll have the best luck at finding someone in Tasley Town. I immediately recognised the name. Lottie goes shopping there all the time. It's the perfect place to check, and Priscilla, that I now know the grey cat is called, said that it's only 3 miles down the road. So, on that note, I say thanks and begin my journey with maybe a little too much hope. According to Priscilla, if I stick to the road, I won't get lost. How hard can it be? I start with a trot along the roadside until someone driving by pulls over on the opposite side of the road from me. They get out and call me over and over. I waste no time bolting away and through a gate leading into a field. I could probably stop here as I don't see him, but I'm not taking any chances. There's no way I'm getting caught. I know where I'm going, so instead I keep going and going until I stop and remember about having to stay on the path. Look around, but don't see it, so I begin to panic. I decide that my only option is to try and retrace my steps, so down goes my nose. I begin to sniff. It's all going well, and I'm managing to not get distracted. I'm almost back. I can see the road ahead. All I need to do is jump through a bush. Should be easy, right? Well, it isn't. Just as my snout makes it, my stupid leather collar gets snagged on a branch, causing me to be stuck. Fortunately, this has happened before, and although I had help last time, I know what to do. I twist my head to be facing the branch and chew on it until it disconnects and slips through the collar, making me able to back out of the engulfing bush and try again. This time I make it, almost collapsing onto the road as I land. Once again, I'm on my way to Lottie. Chapter 6. The more I walked, the more confident I was feeling about finding Lottie. Along the journey, I was imagining how excited she's going to be when she finds me and how worried she'll be right now, and suddenly a thought came to me, what if she's not missing me? What if she likes me being gone? I tried to shake these dreadful thoughts out of my head, but it was impossible. I knew they're here to stay. When I saw buildings in the distance, it was like coming downstairs on Christmas Day to find a massive hill of presents all screaming your name. I couldn't believe it. I've made it, I bark over and over. Running the last quarter of a mile of path and into the town, a thought pops in my head. I haven't found home or Lottie, just town. I mentally plan what to do next until landing on the outcome to walk around town and hope to find my way home. After all, I've walked there from home at least twice. I strategically follow this one blind man so everyone thinks I'm his dog. A few minutes of searching is all that needs to be done, as across the road someone cries my name so loud I thought they had a microphone. It was Ivy. I can't believe my eyes. Without thinking, I rush across the road just as a car was coming. Everyone looked my way. It was like the world around me had immobilised. It all happened so fast that when the car hit me, I saw a poster with me on, and that was the last thing I saw before everything went black. I could hear screams from the audience, and silence. Chapter 7. My eyes flickered open. I could see I was in a car almost falling off the lap of Ivy, but I could also hear someone bawling their eyes out. Lottie! I tried to stand but failed. Ivy, trying to stay calm, soothed me back down and showed me her phone in the process, and there, in the middle of the screen, was Lottie. I stared at her right up until the moment I fainted again. The next thing I knew, I was not only home, I was in Lottie's arms. She does still love me. We sat in the same spot for hours. By the time we moved, it was the next morning, and still then she only lets go to get dressed, then picks me straight back up to go down for her breakfast. I don't care how much pain I'm in. I don't want this to ever end. I sleep through a car trip and only half wake as we arrive at the vet's. I don't remember much about being there, but I do remember one thing. I remember having an injection, then nothing. 12 weeks later. After weeks of being in bandages, of food, unable to walk, so just having lots of cuddles, I am finally on my feet and food again, feeling much better. I am still not allowed out the house, but Lottie promises me that I will get a walk every day, so I can't wait. The end.